What is up, greedy guts? It's your boy Big Umami, coming through with an old school boombap tutorial. That's right, I just felt like making a good old fashioned bap on a good old fashioned machine. Now, I know the MK2 has been out for a while, but I've been waiting for mine for months now. So f it, let's go, let's do it old school. So I've got a road sample here. And before we even start thinking about chopping this, we need to apply a couple of effects. Why now? Well, because obviously, if we chop it first and then apply the effects, we're going to need to apply them to all the slices, which could be an absolute pain. So, in order to get that 90s boom bap sound, we need to apply a vinyl simulation and a lo-fi effect. And the order in which you do this actually matters. You see, if you apply these together, the sound is going to go through the lo-fi first, and then the vinyl simulation, which is going to sound a little bit like this. What I want to do, on the other hand, is simulating a typical 90s signal chain. What would happen back then is that you would sample straight from vinyl into a low resolution sampler that will kind of bit crash your recording. And that's what we have here. Now we're going to chop this into slices. And the way people usually do this on this machine is that you press function and 1, which is copy, although you can't see it here with the sticker obviously. You then select the sound you want to copy and the destination slot. You press record and then you're done. You can now use the mark button to select a new start point for your new sample. There. You can hear I press it late, so I'm going to use the start and end button and adjust the start point. It sounds okay now. As you can imagine, you have to repeat this like a gazillion times, so I'll speed it up and in 3, 2, 1, boom. Through the magic of editing, we have all the slices that we need. Let's go find some drums now. I always have at least one SD card with a bunch of boom bap drums in the back end of the sound banks. I've got one shots of hats, snares, kicks and claps, as well as full drum breaks that I can chop up as I need. I like this hat, but it's too harsh. Let's adjust the high frequencies with isolator. And we resample it. Now, as you can see, the light is still on a few seconds after the sound is gone. This is because I didn't stop the recording quick enough. I need to shorten this, because as long as the button is lit, it's occupying a voice of polyphony. You see, with the 404, when you resample, you only have 2 notes of polyphony. So you can see why this is important. And you'll see what I mean later on in the video as well. All we need to do now is press mark together with our button, and mark again very quickly to set the endpoint. Done. I like this snare. Let's copy this. I like these 2 kicks. Let's copy these too. Okay. Now we have drums and piano slices. Let's find a nice pattern for the piano. Now that I have an idea for the piano pattern, I like to start building the loop starting from the drums. I usually use an external metronome, and in this case I'm going to use my Volca sample with a tempo of 92 BPM. You can't see it in the shot, but I promise it's there, right under the camera. Okay, let's lay the hats and snare first, using the resampling method. As you will notice, I left quite a bit of space at the end of the loop. And that's because I'd rather have more space at the end and having to cut it later than having a loop cut too short by mistake. And that would mean starting over, and ain't nobody got time for that. Let's add the kick now and resample it again. So remember when we cut the hi-hat sample earlier on in the video? Yeah, that is why. The tails of the two kicks kept overlapping. When that happens, you hit 3 notes of polyphony and the whole damn thing stops. So I use the gate button to keep the kicks tight, and it should be alright. Alright, let me adjust the start and end point on this loop. It sounds okay now. Let's add the piano. I'm gonna let the drums go for an entire loop before starting recording my slices. Now all I have to do is set the start and end point again using the mark button. Sounds good. Let's add a bass now. Alright, I have my vocal bass here. Let's find a very simple bass sound. We're gonna sample just the notes that we need to make the bass line directly into the 404. The vocal has 3 oscillators, but we only need 1, so I'm turning 2 of them off. I like using square waves, so I'll switch from sawtooth to square using function plus mate, M8.
Oi, mate!
Once we settle on the sound that we want, we need to find notes that are in key with the piano. And the way I like to do this is to go up, all the way up into the high octaves. It's easier to understand, what notes are in key and what not, that way. Okay, now we know that M5, M7 and M12 are in key. I'm sorry, I don't know what notes they are, because the key layout on the vocal bass is absolute trash. Thanks, Gorg. Let's record these intro parts one by one. I'll set the auto record function pressing function +4, and I'll set the sensitivity on 2. That way, every time I play a bass note, it's gonna start the recording. Cool. I will slap a compressor on the whole thing and play around with these notes. So now that we have our main loop, let's get a couple more sounds, what I call ear candy, basically embellishments. So what I have here is a scratch effect and a sax sample. I got these from splice.com. The scratch sounds good as it is basically, but it's 90 BPM. Our loop is 92 BPM. So I'll need to adjust the scratch tempo by pressing the time BPM button and setting the BPM accordingly. The sax, on the other hand, needs some work. First of all, it needs to be down-tuned to match the key of the song, and for that I'll be using the awful sounding MFX20, which is chromatic pitch shifting. For this sax, I'll also use the 8 volume trick. Basically, I'm going to copy the sound 8 times on 8 pads with decreasing volume in order to emulate a delay. That's a neat trick that I learned from Marlow Diggs on YouTube. Go check him out. And I think we're done now. I'm going to export the main loop on my computer and I'll build a song structure using Logic. Then I will import the whole song again back into the sp404sx. Sequencing patterns and loops in the 404sx to create a song is an absolute pain, and I won't do it if I don't have to. Simple as that. Now, the MK2 is supposed to be much better from that point of view, but, we're stuck with this for now. Before leaving you with the finished product, let me remind you to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions. See ya!